Hello and welcome to another episode of the Happy Head podcast. Now, you know, and I know you know, my name is Paul and I'm your host. If you don't know, then, well, there's nothing else to be said really. Say bye. Today, I am joined by the amazing Candice Wilson in Bonnie, Scotland. How are you doing, Candice?
I'm great, thank you, Paul. I'm doing really well. Thanks very much for asking. How are yourself?
I am splendiferous, thank you very much. Now, just before we went live, I saw a post that you put up and you kindly tagged me in it. Can you tell us about that post?
Yeah, it was a post because it was a post that just sometimes you have to stop and think just stop and realize how far you've come. And it took me back as my daughter asked me this morning, Mum, what are you up to today? I heard myself saying, oh, I've got a podcast at 1, and then I've got a few clients. And then I'm doing an international women's event this evening. I'm speaking at that. And I've also got to edit my chapter in my book. And I realised how I'd said that in such an off the cuff, as if this was my life now, and just look back to kind of thinking about a year ago when COVID struck and how everything in my world, like many business owners, just was like the scariest thing ever. I thought, I'm going to have to go and find a job. I'm going to have to give up my business. I'm going to have to give up my home. I didn't see a way out, and it just made me realise how everything had fallen into place. And it was just every now and again you have to pinch yourself. And today was one of these days.
Wow. So, what were you doing kind of pre-COVID, and how has that kind of transformed itself into what you're doing now?
Yeah, so pre-COVID, I always had the intention of getting my business online, transferring all my business online, but I was so busy working in my business that I wasn't making time to work on my business. And I'd worked with a number of coaches, but most of the time, and coaches were getting frustrated with me because I was so busy working, being with clients. So I would have a number of clients. I delivered programs in the community. I delivered corporate work. So everything was face to face, and I delivered trainings as well. So everything I'd done was face to face, and it was all dependent on me being there. So the minute COVID struck, I just was inundated with cancellations, postpone, cancellation, postpone, cancellation. And yeah, very, very quickly, my business came to a halt. There was, I mean, there was maybe 3 or 4 people said, yeah, okay, we'll come online. But the concept was quite difficult for people to get because that was just quite alien. People didn't think that I could help them if I wasn't face to face with them. And I had a business running using energy work, and obviously that was a difficult concept for people as well, and myself, to think, how can you help people energetically if you're not in the same room as them? So yeah, so it was a huge turning point for me. So a really big wake up, I suppose, about where I was going with my life for not just me, but for many people in business, and many people for all different reasons. But
So, what did you actually do to kind of transform your world from being offline and seeing people first face to face to actually getting yourself online? What do you actually have to kind of put yourself through to get there?
I went on then. I signed up for some online training. So, like, I went with coaching organisations who were promoting how to transfer your business online. So there was quite a lot of that around at the time, still is. But yeah, I went on one program, and I put my heart and soul into it. Possibly wasn't as aligned with it as I would have liked to have been, but I learned a lot from it, and I learned a lot about what I did want and what I didn't want for my own business. And then I kind of found people to follow that I really loved their way of working.
Mm-hmm.
And so I realised very quickly what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people who had been stuck in business the way I had for a long time. So yeah, but I think the most important thing I've done, which is possibly kind of more a spiritual thing, but I read the book The Surrender Experiment. And have you? I don't know if it's a book that you've ever read, Paul, but
Not heard of that one, no.
it's almost sort of suggesting everything's set up for you anyway. Sort of kind of like trust. Stop trying to control everything and trust the process. And that's what I did. I read this book and I set my intentions. I said what I wanted. So I said, like, this is how much income I need. I had a chat to the universe. It sounds quite woo, but I had a chat to the universe. I says to the universe, okay, you want me to keep doing this stuff? Show me what to do. Show me the way. If you want me to help people the way I'm helping people just now, I know that needs going to be get greater. Show me what to do. Show me what to say. Show me how to be, so that I can be that person that's helping people through this kind of pandemic, this time, this stage. And again, it sounds quite woo, but it was incredible what happened very, very quickly. How many people started reaching out, how many people started looking for me to deliver things online and corporate programs. I managed to transfer all my kind of business online. I started working with people just in a different way. So but I would say that book was the biggest turning point, is just surrendering and stop trying to control it all.
So you say a couple of times there that it sounds like a little bit woo, but would you not agree that it's maybe that you're setting your focus on to achieve a certain task, and rather than kind of worrying about whether it works, whether it doesn't work, it's just actually getting on with the work and doing stuff, and then things start to happen.
Well, I think it's twofold, because I would say, I mean, I got on with the programme that I was working on, and I did do a lot of work behind the scenes, but a lot of things that I would not have been able to interpret or imagine, or I certainly come my way. And it's things that I didn't worry too much about the how. I just set that intention, and the how just came that I would never have been able to predict. I would say, like just phone calls randomly from nowhere, sort of like, we've got a budget, are you able to help us? And there was just a lot of different things happen. But yeah, I also done the work. Without a doubt, I done the work as well. Um,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
think that's yeah.
I do believe there was something else at force there for me. There was definitely a feeling
Because I'm a
and
firm,
opening my mind. Hmm.
mm, I'm a firm believer that people who believe in what we call woo, but don't actually do any work to kind of boost that belief, don't get anywhere unless
Yeah,
they have a rich uncle or a rich auntie, and then who's very generous, and oh look, I've just manifested a new car. Well, yeah, that was your
yeah,
rich auntie again, or sent you on holiday. I
yes,
believe a lot of it, yeah, you kind of set your intention, you set where you want to go, but there's a lot of what we call elbow grease, actual work that goes into it, networking, meeting people, doing the courses, writing stuff, the whole nine
yes,
yards. Your business would not have gone from being offline to online if you just kind of sat there and gone, okay, universe, sort it out for me. You had
yes.
to roll your sleeves up and get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a follower, Two Girls, Female Preneurs, and one of their quotes are, do the do. You have to do the do. You set the intention, then you have to do the do. And that's absolutely right. It's about, but I think it's that difference between trying to control it, trying to take control of everything, and working out the how.
Mm.
It's actually, yeah, put the work in, make yourself visible, go to these networking events, whatever it is, you have to do the work, but trust in the process at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, because I was very guilty of this. I was very much focused on getting the result. And if the result didn't happen, I'd get very disappointed. And then I kind of had conversations with a few people and sat down and had a strong talk to say, look, as long as you follow the process and do your ABCs, then it will happen. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
how it happens. And
Uh-huh.
strangely enough, I mean, we met because I was reaching out to people, because we've got all these friends on Facebook, and I hardly knew any of them. So I thought I'm going to start a process of reaching out to people. And I think a couple of last week or the week before, I reached out to you. We started a conversation, and here you are today.
Yeah.
Now, that wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't be sitting here if I hadn't
Yeah.
decided initially that I wanted to reach out to people, and then secondly, that I'd message you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's it, isn't it? It's and trusting that you do meet people. People come into your life for a reason, isn't it? But you have to put the effort in. You have to do the do. You have to take the action. I'm a firm believer. You're right. You have to take the action, but you never know where the conversations that could easily have just been, yeah, I'm good. How are you? Da da da. For me, it was just interesting to see somebody who wasn't asking me random weird things about my life. I was like, somebody is actually conversation. So, because a lot of times I get like, there's so many kind of strange messages come up. So it was quite nice that, especially from men, it was quite nice that it was somebody that was wanting to talk about business and not push business onto me as well. So it was lovely just to kind of engage in that conversation there.
And the other point I want to make as well is that a lot of those messages that I send out are just ignored, which is fine. People are busy. People don't know me necessarily, even though we've been friends. There's
Yes,
been no kind of prior connection. But then some people are curious, and they've got the. It's kind of like, I don't want to use the word serendipity, but it's like at that time you had time, and the conversation was started, and from then, like here we are today, kind of thing. But there are lots of people where it wasn't the right moment, and so my message got. I'm not going to use the word ignored because that's not fair. My message didn't get responded to,
yes,
and that's normal. That's part of the process. That's
yes.
just part of the thing
Uh-huh.
you've got to do.
And yeah, and it's that part about not taking that type of stuff personally, is it?
No,
Because I
absolutely,
know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I know a few years ago I was working with a coach who was very kind of that was, I mean he's made a great living out of this way of working, but that's how he suggested working, and I would reach to people, but possibly the energy I attached to that was the wrong energy because I would reach to people almost like are they going to ignore me, and then feel really bad because people ignored me, so I felt like I was pestering people. And
Yeah,
it's that bit. So it depends how you lead that conversation, isn't it?
absolutely. And again, I think it's about the process rather than result. Because if you think that every message you're going to send out is going to result in a conversation and then something more, then you're very misguided. And I think sadly, particularly in the coaching and healing sphere, when people are very scared to reach out because they think,
Yeah,
oh, people are going to reject me, or they're going to get angry and they're going to be rude to me, or I'm just going to get ignored. And that I find that fascinating because I've reached out to a lot of people since the beginning of this year, and I've only had. I mean, they can't even be rude. One lady thought I was trying to propose to her. She said, "I went, hi, how are you doing? Just pop in and say good hello." And she came straight back saying, "I am happily married, thank you very much. Go away." I went, okay, sorry to bother you. And then there was another guy, a guy who was a marketer, and same message, hi, how are you doing? Just wanted to pop in and say hello, kind of thing. What are you selling? What's your pitch? I went, there isn't one. Well, yes, there is. I haven't got time. I'm too busy. I said, okay, look, really sorry to have disrupted you. Off you go. And that's the only two that I had that have
yeah,
been kind of not even really negative, just they're obviously wrong time, wrong place kind of thing. The vast
yeah,
majority of people have gone, hi, how are you doing? I'm good. Bye. And that's been it. Yeah. And then
yeah,
there's been a very small percentage where there has been a genuine conversation, and that's kind of not led to anything as such, but had really, really good conversation. And there's even a small percentage where somebody might have become a client, or I've become a client of them, or we've had a conversation, I've gone on their podcast, or they come on my podcast, and or they've put me in contact with people who can do X, Y, or Z.
yeah.
And that's the brilliant thing. But I've had some fabulous conversations with people purely just by reaching out and saying, look, I want to
You
know
reaching
people
out.
on my list. Yeah. But
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
absolutely right, Candice. It's about
hmm
the attitude that you reach out with. If you reach out, like you said, and expect a result or a conversation from every single message you put out there, it's not going to happen.
Yes, yeah. So it's that intention, isn't it? As you say, here's an intention. I'll open up a dialogue, and let's see where it goes. And then very quickly there's a few sort of things develop from that. So it's that bit about being able to put yourself out there and be open to this might not go anywhere. It might go somewhere, but let's. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a simple message, isn't it? You could copy and paste it, the same message, I suppose.
Yeah. And
hmm
that's the whole thing. But you don't get the opportunities unless you kind of reach out to people and let
Yeah,
them know. It's because simply, this is what I found, simply because you are friends on Facebook, it doesn't actually mean anything. It means somebody's accepted a friend's request, or you sent one and they've accepted it, or vice versa. And then that's it. There's no
yeah,
there's no communication that's necessarily come straight out of that. So you kind of have to put yourself out and reach out on any
yeah.
platform. Whether not Facebook's just an example.
Yeah, and I think it's a different way being now, isn't it? Because I remember when I first sort of worked online and got my business off the ground, and coaches sort of build your relationships, build your network, accept people as friends. And I very much at that time had my personal Facebook and I had my business Facebook, and they were kept very apart. And I remember a coach saying to me, "No, it's your personal brand. So people want to know a bit about you. They want to. It's almost the connection points because it's developing that know, like, and trust." And that was quite a shift for me to think like, "Oh, right, okay." But you could see how that works. I suppose the other side of that, I've got people on Facebook like yourself that I didn't even know I was friends with. When you popped that on, I was looking thinking, I didn't recognise you as a friend because there's a number of people in my group, my Facebook, that I wouldn't know as friends. I don't know when I've accepted them or how that friendships came. So I think and that would not be unusual in this climate, I don't think, for people who is like, where do these friends come from? We're much more open in that kind of way, isn't it? But it's yeah, how often are we chatting to these friends? I used to say, I will not accept somebody as a friend if I wouldn't speak to them in the street. And now I don't even know who some of my friends on Facebook are. So that was quite a nice learning for me just to recognise, yeah, it's sometimes quite nice just to chat, have that conversation, just be open to that dialogue, and be open minded because it's building your network, it's building these relationships, and you never know what could come from that. Not even as I could maybe get business, but
Mm.
as you say, I could maybe help you, you could help me, we maybe know somebody that we could, you just don't know. And that to me has been the best thing that's happened to me in the last few years. What has come from the relationships that I've developed over the last few years has blown my mind, absolutely blown my mind.
It's a strange thing, is the online world. I was talking to someone this morning, and he went, "Have we been friends for that long?" And I checked, and it had been like about 3 or 4 years, and
Really.
there'd been no communication between the both of us. You know,
Yeah.
I went, "Bloody hell, is it really that long?" And I went, "Yes." "Oh, well, thanks for reaching out. How are you doing?" And we started having a chat about what he's doing, what I'm doing, and all kinds of stuff.
Mm.
But it's people. I think sometimes we just kind of like, you get the notifications, and you clear, it says accept, and you go yes, 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 yes. And apart from a quick glance at their picture, you don't really pay any attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
also, like you say, over this past year, people have been quite bored and wanted to reach out. So I think there's been a lot more people who kind of, how can I put it, loosely accepting friends requests
Yes.
rather than they
Uh-huh.
might have done a few years ago where they're kind of, do I know this
Yes.
guy? No, I don't. So I'm not
Hmm.
going to accept. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Mhm.
so this podcast is all about sort of mindset and overcoming adversity and all that kind of good stuff. Apart from your translation from the offline world to you put your business online, have there been any other kind of circumstances where you've had to kind of overcome stuff and use your mindset and your abilities and skills to get yourself through that?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, my life kind of ticked along fairly well, and certainly to the outside world, possibly it kind of looked fairly perfect up until 5, 6 years ago. I had a good job. I was middle management, so I was in the midst of people. Like I worked with families. I was family support coordinator. I had a group of people that I supervised. I had a manager, so I was supported by manager as part of a big organisation, and I had staff that I supported, and I also had 3 daughters. Got 3 daughters. They were at home. Well, this is going back maybe 9 or 10 years now, but they were all at home. I was married, and everything was kind of, again, on the outside fairly perfect. And then over a very short space of time, my life changed quite dramatically. From starting from kind of, I had a seconded post, and I was quite passionate about taking that forward. And that secondment didn't get kept on. So that then I had a little business. I had a business at the time. I was running groups in the community, and I had trained as a coach by now, and I was passionate about coaching,
Mm-hmm.
but not ready to embark on it as a full time career. It was still a hobby that I really enjoyed. Um, and then that seconded post didn't get kept, so I was going back into my old post, and I'd been there 10 years. And I'm a great believer. You need to move. You need to keep moving to learn. And I knew I'd taken that post as far as it could go. There was nothing inspiring me about going back to that role. And so took a leap of faith and decided to go fully self-employed. And it was quite a big risk because I was on a decent salary and it was a decent job. And that was big. And then right on the back of that, my marriage, I'd been married for 31 years, I think, at that point, and that just started just collapsing. Things were just going a downward spiral there. So within a very short space of time, I was working on my own and living on my own, having come through kind of like this huge shift in my life. And and that was one of the toughest experiences. And I was certainly somebody who thought, I had a belief that I can't do anything on my own. I always need to be around people. If I had a free evening, I would fill that with people. Everything I'd done, I filled with people because I had a belief that I'm a people person and I can't do anything on my own. And I guess the kind of those that beer or whoever had different plans for me. And I was taken on a huge journey of personal growth journey where I had to learn to be on my own. I had to learn to be independent. I had to learn how to even things like pay the bills. I'd been married. I'd never ever lived in my adult life on my own. So I never had to be independent. I never paid the bills. My husband paid the bills. I had a huge learning curve to go on. And all the time I was out there trying to inspire people because I was now a fully self-employed coach. And the pain and I suppose this deep-rooted belief that I was a failure was kind of there. Everything I was doing, I'm saying things, but underneath that, I'm feeling like an absolute failure because I'm thinking, well, some quite significant things in my life have changed, and if I was as good as I'm kind of trying to get everybody else to be, then I felt as if I was being a bit of a fake.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only at some point during it, and I had to pull on everything I had then because I was close to having to go to doctor and get medication. And I'm not anybody that needs to get medication. That's people need to do what they need to do. But for me, that was something else emphasising how much of a fake I was. If I was kind of showing people how to manage emotions and I'm having to get medication, then that was not in line. It was not aligned with who the person I wanted to be. And I had to pull on everything I had. I had to pull on every single thing I had to get me through that because the impact it had on my life was way beyond what I expected it to be. I just thought, oh, yeah, okay, I'll go on. My business is going to take off. I'll meet somebody else and my life will all fall into place and everything will be ticket to boo. And yeah, that could have happened, but I know that that wasn't right for me now. I look back and I think, no, that was not the journey. I needed to learn that I had everything within myself. I had everything within myself, and I didn't need to depend on anybody because even with business, I would meet somebody. Oh, we could be business partners, and every time that happened, it was almost like the universe was saying, no, 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 because I was then thinking I couldn't manage my business without this person, and my friends and family and those that knew me were often saying, well, yeah, but you're as good as that, or what? What are you thinking they've got that you've not got? So my belief in myself and my self worth was so low that I didn't realise what I had in myself, I suppose. And one of the things I pulled on that I would say was the biggest change is something called silent counselling. So it's using energy work and it is working with the meridians to manage emotions. And that was what gave me my strength and spirituality. Believing that there's something better, believing that there's something, this was all for a reason. This is all taking me and this was all taking me somewhere else. That if I didn't have that, I don't know where I would be because I had to believe there was a higher purpose to this.
So, were you a spiritual person before this kind of tumultuous change in your life, or did that develop once you were on your own and doing your own thing?
Yeah. So I would say I always had a bit of an interest in it and possibly avoided it a bit because I thought spiritual people were just people who read your fortunes and were psychic. And I didn't really want to be one of them. That wasn't where I seen myself. But I remember what an astrologer saying to me, you've been fast tracked spiritually. And I do believe I went like from 0 to 100 very quick spiritually. Very much trusting that there's something there. And sometimes, and I look back and sometimes I was vulnerable and fell for everything, like, all right, they said this is going to happen, so that must be right, and this is going to happen. And I could look back and I could beat myself up about that. But you know what? That gave me hope at the time, and at that time, that's what I needed, was hope. I needed hope to know that there was something else in the corner, because my life become such hard work. Everything was so hard work. So yeah, I would say I've been on a kind of 3 or 4 years of real personal growth.
Mhm.
And what I would give myself a pat on the back for is I was always open to going, let's keep healing, keep healing, keep healing. What is it I could be doing better? How could I improve? How can I kind of, something's coming up? Here's a trigger. I've still got work to do. So I have invested a lot into myself, a lot into my business to kind of become the person I am today. And although I'm not there, as in everything's sorted and all the boxes are ticked, I certainly can look back on my journey and feel quite proud of how far I've come. Yeah, but that was a tough journey.
It sounds like it was. There's a couple of you said a couple of times there that you felt like a fake, a bit of imposter syndrome. How did you actually get through that, get over it? How did you kind of remove that feeling of being a fake?
You know, one of the biggest things that shifted that is when people started saying to me, and this is possibly not what you would want, because it's main again looking for external things to make you feel good. But a number of people started saying to me, "Oh, you're so inspirational. Oh, I'm so inspired by you. I was telling somebody about you, and it's amazing what you do." And that started. I was hearing it so many times that eventually I started to take it in and absorb that and think, you can inspire people because of the journey. People are not looking at you thinking you're a fake. People are looking at you thinking, wow, look how you've coped with such tough times. And I think I heard that so often that I started to believe that. And and then one night I woke up one morning, I had a dream about hosting a seminar, and every single part was a dream or a download, whatever you want to call it. But this seminar was so clear in my mind, exactly right away. I just knew exactly how this was going to look, who would be there, where it would be, everything. And I decided that I think I had that sort of download in October, and in January I hosted a seminar, and 100 people were there, and that again was another big turning point, because I realised all these people that were here were people who'd invested in me because they believed me, and they trusted in me, and they knew I was going to give them value. And that was an amazing day. It was an amazing day that kind of, I suppose, it up leveled me a bit. But going back to the imposter syndrome, I remember 2 or 3 days later, the saboteur come in again, and I started to look for problems in that day. And I realised that was all keeping me safe, because I was getting so many compliments. So I started to then focus on the problems. So I still had work to be done. I didn't at the time realise it was a saboteur, but I just realised, I was like, that's something really, really good that's happened. And I'm focused on that one thing I got wrong. Why am I doing that? Yeah. So it's and you see, I see that happening with so many people
Mhm.
as well now. But yeah, that was the reality of that journey.
That's why I was smiling, because as soon as you said that, every single person goes through that. Now, I was going to take you back a little bit. You mentioned something there called silent counselling, and I got two questions. First of all, how did you come across this? You know, how far back? How did you? What kind of led you to silent counselling? And what is silent counselling?
Okay, yeah. So silent counselling is something I discovered about 7 years ago, when things were starting to go wrong in my marriage. Maybe 8 years ago now, actually, when things were starting to crumble, and I knew I needed help. I'd never really sought out help as such. I would go for a massage or a kind of Reiki treatment or something. I knew I needed to. I was like, my life's spiraling out of control. I'm not coping. I'm not sleeping. I cannot keep up this facade of everything's okay anymore. And a neighbour at the time suggested I go to this woman who was about 30 mile away. She says, this woman does, I've heard great stuff about the work they do. And I didn't know really what this woman done, but I just knew, right, okay, I've been recommended somebody. I liked what this person had said she done. I'll go here. How the impact it made. I'll go to see this woman, and it was a huge defining moment in my life. Sitting in this room opposite this woman called Marjorie, and just this woman's knowledge is still blows me away. Speaking to her yesterday, and she's just amazing. And Marjorie sat opposite me, and she'd done something. I didn't know what she was doing, but she was just doing this with my hand. So she was touching my hand, and on my wrist area, she was touching that. And she said to me, "Okay, so what was happening between the age of 10 and 15?" And I'm thinking, what have you just how do you know that by pressing this area on my hand? And I said to her, "Yeah, my mum and dad split up when I was 10, and that was quite a tough time in my life." She says, "Yeah, okay. So what you're holding on to now is connected to that time in your life. And your body's holding energetically, you're holding emotions of shame, and fear, and it's connected to that moment in your life." And the minute she said it, I was like, wow, this felt so strong, because that was such a tough time in my life. And I think the thought of going through that again, or putting my family through it, was making me hang on to a marriage that I knew was kind of crumbling. And Marjorie showed me some points to touch on and how to breathe, and I could not believe the emotions that come out of me that day. Like, the tears flowed from nowhere, and everything it just blew me away. I was like, wow, she just showed me how to touch my chin, and all these emotions have come up. I can't remember much else about that session, to be honest. That was just so powerful. I drove home and I burped all the way home. And this was an energy release. This is me releasing energy. Time I got home, I could not believe how amazing I felt. It was like, I don't know what's just happened, but this woman's just done something magical. And I thought, well, she must be psychic or something, because how did she know all that about me? She read me, every bit of me. She read me, and I thought, oh, she must be psychic. And it was so powerful, had such a huge impact on my life. And I went to her a number of times out throughout that year, because there was a lot of different things going on. And eventually I thought, I need to learn this. I want her to show me this, because this is having such an impact on my life. I'd qualified as a coach by that now, and I thought, I would love to do this with my own clients. And so I went on a 2-day training with Marjorie, and I have to say, the simplicity of it almost took away the honest, how much in awe I was of it, because it was so simple, but it was so powerful. And the minute I started using this concept with my clients, and the concept is, it's recognising, and we're working with the body's meridian points. Each meridian stores in emotion, and using muscle testing and touching and breathe points, you're able to release this emotion. So you're able to identify where in your body you're storing emotion and how to release it. And when I started working with my clients, time and time and time again, people would just say, "This has transformed my life." People would say, "You've transformed my life. You've transformed my life. My life's transformed." And I started decided then I call myself a transformational coach, because I was hearing that so often. Well, it was my coach that actually said to me at the time, "So you're a transformational coach. Look at all these testimonials. People are telling you transforming their life." And that to me was what transformed people's life, was the energy work. The coaching concept works very, very well. I'm very passionate about coaching, but the energy was like adding steroids into the mix. It was like just having something magic. So in coaching, you're maybe working with somebody, and you can see a limiting belief in them. You could see something that's not working right, but you can't. It's not your job to tell the client what's not working. Your job's to help the client unravel that themselves. Using silent counselling, you could just get there much quicker. I could say, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying there. I'm hearing what you're saying, and this is getting in your road. Would you like to see if we can release that through energy work? And we just can get there so much quicker. It's like 10, 15 minutes. A client can release something, a limiting belief that's holding them back. So yeah, silent counselling's become something I'm very, very passionate about. And the reason we call it silent counselling, some people struggle with the name, but it's basically saying you can manage these emotions that you would manage in a counselling session, but you don't have to talk about your problems. So if you don't want to talk about your problems, we don't have to dig up your past. We don't have to do any of that. We'll just show you how to release these emotions using this kind of touch and breathe technique. Does
Now,
that explain it?
It's really, really well because I've invested in your training and I'm kind of halfway through the training. And yeah, it's a really, really unusual, not unusual approach, but it's got nothing to do with counseling in the sense it's not a talking therapy. It's
Yeah,
not like, well, when I was 15, I got run over by a car and I've got all these trouble. It's nothing like that at all. It's very difficult to describe. I mean, like you said, I'm guessing one simple way is this is not a meridian, but say you were pushing your thumb like this and it's really, really hurting, really, really hurting. And then Candice goes, just let go. And when you let go of that pressure, the skin comes back out and you feel a release because you're not pushing onto yourself, especially if you've got some nails, you're really digging in there. That's how I can equate it because we did some practice this weekend and there was stuff that I had that I didn't even know I had. And I was like laughing like a 6-year-old all the way through the process, this training, yeah. And it was brilliant, but it was simply that it was releasing stuff, and I'm really, really keen, and I can't wait to actually complete the course so that is something that I will be able to add to my own clients, and I'm looking forward to it. I just, I've had an experience of it and I really enjoyed it, but I really, really, really want to complete it. And I can't wait. In fact, I said on Saturday afternoon that if you were free tomorrow, i.e., Sunday, I'd like to complete the course tomorrow. And unfortunately,
yes,
Candice was busy, but that's how eager, and that's how eager I am to actually
yes,
to get this, training completed. Now I know you're on a mission, aren't you, with silent
yeah,
counselling?
yeah, yeah.
Tell us what
I
your mission
am now,
is.
Paul. Yeah, I am now, and you know why? One, when I'm seeing the impact it has so quickly, like so you at the weekend, and you'll have seen, and on the weekends training, we had one person who'd had severe shoulder pain, and within 10 minutes, am I exaggerating? Within 10 minutes,
No, about 10 minutes, yeah.
10 minutes, that pain gone from an 8 to a 10, an 8 out of 10 to zero. Yeah. So that's what happens. And that's what's happening time and time again when I'm doing this kind of work. Now, to me, you can't put a price on that.
Just one thing I want to say as well, it wasn't one of these kind of things where you do something and the pain's gone and 24 hours it's back again, because you actually did this on the Friday and the lady was on the course on the Saturday and it was still completely gone.
Yeah.
Because I've done bits and pieces where, yeah, okay, that feels really good now. And then an hour later, it's kind of sore again. This is a permanent release
Yeah.
from that
Yeah.
particular feeling, pain, discomfort, whatever. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And because what you have noticed on the training, because the body allowed us to go straight to the root cause reason, and that doesn't always happen, but it does about 80% of the time. Because we were able to go straight to the root cause reason, we were able to completely take away that pain. So one of my struggles just now is just seeing how many people are become dependent on medication that don't want to be taking medication. People are kind of, and I myself, I had thyroid trouble. I've never been ill in my life, and 2 years ago, no, 18 months ago, I ended up with thyroid problem, and within days, weeks, I was on something like 18 tablets a day. Now, I'd never been on medication in my life, but I couldn't believe once I started that process about how ill I become. So one tablet had that, then I had to take another tablet because there was a knock-on effect to that tablet. Then I had to take beta blockers and I just did not want to be doing that. And I'm delighted to say now I'm not taking any medication. Through energy work and just keep on working and keep on doing the work, I now no longer take any of that medication. And I know there's lots and lots of people out there that are taking antidepressants, that are taking anxiety medication, that are taking different medications because they think that's the only way out. That's the only way to manage this emotion. And I've no agenda. If people want to take medication, it's not about judgment, but I know a lot of people are taking them and don't want to. And I know we have a world in crisis and it's going to get worse. And I've found this very, very simple but amazingly impactful a modality that I feel a responsibility to share with the world. It's almost like, listen, and people, what I really love about it is people can use it on themselves.
Mm.
So you don't need this expert to be coming and fixing you all the time. You could come on this training and you learn it for yourself and you learn it to help others. So for me, it's such an empowering tool. And like you have seen at the weekend, Paul, everybody wants to know more. Everybody's just loving it and seeing the impact so quickly. And what I have done now is I'm just putting the 2 days training together. I spread it out, and that's what we used to do. But now people are so keen just to like, oh, well, I just want it now because this is amazing. So the next training's in May and the 2 dates are together. And I think there's quite a response coming from the US, Canada. People are known about it. And what I love about this is it's all word of mouth. It's all word of mouth. People are just, they've got a friend in Canada or a friend in US and people want to know more about it. So I am putting the trainings closer together now, just putting them 2 days together and also kind of trying to make a time for the US market, Canada, so I can capture as many people across the globe and get this message out here.
Which is a really, really important thing to do. Just want to clarify one thing, that Candice isn't suggesting that anybody stops taking their medication without
Absolutely
consulting your doctor and all that kind of thing. It's just in certain circumstances, in your own example, you're going through stuff, you took medication, you've done this process and you didn't need it. But again, I'm sure you talked to your doctor and reduced the dosage down, all that kind of thing. We're not saying just stop taking your medication right now, because that would be clearly a very, very silly thing to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I say, I have no agenda. I have no agenda at all. I did become concerned when I asked my GP if I could do alternative, and my GP said, no, don't do that. It'll cost too much money. You'd be better going for an operation. And for me, that set a bit of an alarm bell. But yes, a lot of people are coming to me saying, I've had to start taking medication and I'm hating it. So they did not like the feeling and they did not like the side effects from medication. And yeah, I've no agenda one way or another. All I want to do is help people recognise that they've got the tools within themselves and they don't need to rely on something that's not making them feel good. And I do, and one thing I did, Paul, and I shared with you at the weekend, because I watched the Roman Kemp documentary, and for me, that was very, very powerful when Roman shared a very emotive documentary when he shared about losing his friend to suicide, and that is becoming more and more prevalent, especially with men. And again, if we could share this, if we could get this message out to men that these feelings that they're feeling can be managed by using some very simple techniques and enough to help people find that inner strength to go and get the help that they need, or to reach out or to talk out or whatever, or just to release it on their own, then to me that is worthwhile in itself, just helping reduce suicide rates and the mental health kind of crisis that's heading our way by the looks of it.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things for guys in particular is maybe you need to look at changing the name, because again, for guys, counselling means sitting there talking over a cup of tea and a couple of biscuits. And for a lot of guys, that's what they shy away from. They don't want that. Whereas if you can kind of come up with a name that this is a short, sharp, it's not even intervention, it's showing you how to take care of your own emotions and release all the kind of stuff that you've been holding on to for so long. I think that's really important, because it's a great tool, and I just can't wait to complete the training and I can start using it.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can start using it right away. But yeah, it is. I'm excited, and I'm excited again to have more men embracing this process and take on board your comments about the name. I think it works for some people and it doesn't work for others, so it's something we might look into in the future. But yeah, it's exciting times, I think.
So when is your next course? You said it's in May.
So the next course is in May. It's on it's the 25th, 26th of May. It's the end of May anyway.
What I'll do is I'll post the links to the information, live, so.
If you just put my link in, there's a button for silent counselling and you'll get the new dates. My web person's just putting it on the website, changing the times at the moment because we're getting such a demand. So I'm having to try and keep ahead of the game with the courses. So, yeah.
So, Candice, it's been a fabulous conversation. Where can people reach out to you to find out more about you and what you do and all that kind of stuff? What's the best place to get hold of you?
Yeah, so at the moment, my website is still undergoing some upgrading. It should be finished by the end of this week. So your best place is either on Instagram, Candice Wilson Business Coach, or on Facebook, Candice Wilson Business and Lifestyle Transformational Coach. Send me a friend request. Let me know that you've listened to the podcast. Or send me an email at hello@candicewilson.co.uk. Please just let me know what you've heard, and I would love to chat to people, create a relationship, build a network, and be friends. So yeah, you can contact me through a few different ways now.
Okay. Don't worry about trying to memorize those links. I will post the links in the show notes. So I got one final question for you, and a kind of question that I ask pretty much everybody that comes on the show. If you could go back in time, is there anything that you'd go back and change? And whether that's yes or no, what's your reasoning behind that?
The one big thing I would go back and change is to do everything with a belief that I am enough. I am enough, and trust the process as well. Trust that everything happens for you and not to you. So there's two things: is possibly looking back and seeing how much of my life I maybe sabotaged because I didn't know. So if good things happened, I probably didn't think I deserved it, and I would sabotage it. And two, also trusting that process because yeah, there everything does all work out in the end. Mhm.
That's brilliant to finish on. Thank you, Candice. Trust the process. So, Candice, listen, we're not related, by the way, because it's Candice Wilson and Paul Wilson. Just want to put that out there. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time, Candice. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait until we do the second part of the training. And people watching, thanks. And bye bye for now.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Paul.